students. My name is Balakoteswararao. I am your biology teacher. So, I am going to explain the nutrition. This lesson we have already discussed in the previous classes about the photosynthesis. Photosynthesis equation, who proposed that equation and what are the factors responsible for the photosynthesis. So, we know that photosynthesis equation. C6H12 O6 plus 6H2O plus 6O2. So, this is the sunlight chlorophyll. So, this is the photosynthesis equation. It was proposed by C.G. Van Wy in 1931. We have discussed all these things. What are the factors required for photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight. We have discussed that experiments also. Now, I am going to explain about the photosynthesis and the component, mechanism of photosynthesis. What is the mechanism of photosynthesis? The light, the sunlight is very important for the photosynthesis. We have already discussed that and experiment also. So here, sunlight, the light, on the basis of the light, the photosynthesis has divided into two parts. These are the mechanism of photosynthesis. One is light-dependent reactions and light-independent reactions. So, the light is required. The light is required to initiate several events in photosynthesis, while several events may not require the light. On the basis of this, the photosynthesis has divided into two types. One is light energy, light-dependent reactions, and light-independent reactions. Here, sunlight is necessary for photosynthesis. Are all the reactions or the events takes place in the light or require the light? No. Only a few reactions require the light. So, the reactions or the events which requires the light are called light-dependent reactions. These light-dependent reactions, and the reactions which does not require the light, those are called light-independent reactions or dark reactions. I am going to explain about these light-dependent reactions and the light-independent reactions. The light-dependent reactions means here in this one it is their light-dependent. These reactions depend on light. So, the reactions which depends on the light takes place in the grana of chloroplast. This takes place in the granum. The light-independent reactions which does not require the light, they takes place in the stroma of chloroplast. Stroma. So, the light-dependent reactions takes place in the granum. Light-independent reactions takes place in the stroma. The mechanism of photosynthesis, the light-dependent reactions require the light energy. A very quick succession of reactions initiated by the light. A very quick succession of reactions. That means a fast reactions, a chain of fast reactions takes place in the presence of light. So, hence this phase is also called as, technically called as photochemical phase. Photochemical phase. So, a chain of reactions initiated by light takes place rapidly, very fastly. So, it technically called as photochemical phase or light-dependent reactions. We understand. The light-dependent reactions takes place in the chlorophyll containing thylakoids called the grana of chloroplast. The photochemical reactions takes place in the chlorophyll containing thylakoids called the grana of chloroplast. So, the grana of chloroplast. So, it takes place in the grana. There are several steps that present in the light-dependent reactions. There are three steps is there. In step 1, I am going to explain that three steps. In step 1, I am explaining about light-dependent reactions. The reactions which require the light are called light-dependent reactions. This reaction takes place in a very quick succession initiated by light. So, a chain of reactions takes place very rapidly by this light. So, it is also called as photochemical phase. There are several steps in it. The first step is the chlorophyll and exposure to the bright sunlight. The chlorophyll, the plant, we know that the chlorophyll is present in the leaves of the plants. The chlorophyll and exposure to the bright sunlight becomes activated by observing photon. In the step 1, chlorophyll activated by observing photon. Here we have a doubt. What is the photon? Photon is the smallest unit of the light energy. That is the photon. Very important one more question. What is photon? The chlorophyll on exposure to the light energy becomes activated by observing the photon. Photon is the smallest unit of light energy. Smallest unit of light energy. So, this is about photon. That's step 1. In step 2, this energy, the photon energy, this energy is useful for the splitting of water molecule. This energy is useful for the splitting of water molecule into two component ions named hydrogen and hydroxide. So, the light energy what has absorbed by the chlorophyll, it is useful for the splitting of water molecule into two component ions, hydrogen and hydroxide, H plus and OH minus ions. This reaction was also known as photolysis. This reaction was known as photolysis. Yeah, this reaction was known as photolysis. Here, the light energy useful for splitting of water molecule into two component ions, hydrogen and hydroxide. Here, photo means light, lysis means breakdown. Splitting means breakdown here. Photo means light, lysis means breakdown. So, in the step 2, hydrogen water molecule divided into hydrogen and hydroxide. This was also known as photolysis here. Photo means light, lysis means breakdown. This reaction was discovered by Robert Hill. So it's also known as Hill's reaction. Hill's reaction. Okay, that is step 2. In the step 1, the chlorophyll exposure to the bright sunlight becomes activated by observing the photon. Photon is the smallest unit of light energy. That's why. In step 2, this energy what was captured by the chlorophyll is utilized for the breakdown of water into two component ions, hydrogen and hydroxide. This was photolysis. This reaction was discovered by Robert Hill, hence it is also called as Hill's reaction. In step 3, the highly reactive of H plus and OH minus ions undergo a series of changes as described below. I am going to explain about. What are the changes that undergo by the H plus and OH minus ions? In step 3, OH minus ions, through a series of steps, it forms water and oxygen. OH minus ions, through a series of steps, it forms water and oxygen. Water is utilized by the plant body and oxygen is revealed into the atmospheric air. In step 3, the highly reactive OH minus ions forms water and oxygen. Water is utilized by the plant body and oxygen is entered into the atmospheric air. The H plus ions will not undergo any change in the light dependent reaction. This goes changes in the light independent reactions. H plus ions undergo the change in the light independent reaction or dark reaction. So there I will explain about the H plus ions and their function, how it is involving in the changes. Now, the water, OH minus forms the water and oxygen utilized by the plant body and revealed into the atmospheric air. Here, the components which can capture the light, light ADP and NADPH are formed. The compounds which can capture the light like ATP and NADPH are formed at the end of the light reaction. These are called assimilatory powers. What are these? Assimilatory powers. ADP and NADPH which forms at the end of the light reaction are called assimilatory powers. Okay, now this is about the light dependent reaction. I am going to the light independent reactions. I am going to explain about the light independent reaction. You may have doubt about what is ADP. Adenosine triphosphate. NADPH. Nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate. Nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate. ADP means adenosine triphosphate. You will learn more about this in the coming lessons. So this is about light dependent reaction or photochemical phase. Now I am going to explain light independent reactions. So light independent reactions, in that name only is there. What is the meaning of the light independent? Independent means they are not supporting on or depending on others. So light independent reactions, this reaction does not require the light. These reactions do not require the light. So the reactions which do not require the light are called light independent reactions or dark reactions. So I am explaining about second mechanism of photosynthesis, second phase, light independent reactions. These reactions do not require the light, hence it is also called as dark reactions. The time gap between the light reaction and the light independent reaction, light dependent reactions and independent reaction is even less than 1,000 of a second. Less than even 1,000 of a second. No, the extension of phases may take place after the daytime in some plants, and in some plants it may take even in the dark. Do you understand this? So the extension of the phases takes place after the daytime, or it may take place in the dark at night also in some plants. Because of that, it's also known as dark reactions or light independent reaction. But the term dark reaction does not mean that these reactions takes place only dark at night. This means these reactions does not require the light only. Do you understand this? Dark reactions means these are not occurs in the dark at night. This only just these reactions does not require the light. The time gap between the light dependent and light independent reactions is even less than 1,000 of a second. So here I already told you that the H plus ions of the photolysis, H plus ions are produced. These highly reactive H plus ions are picked up by a special compound called NADP. They picked up with the NADP and forms NADPH. And by NADPH. The hydrogen of the NADPH, it is combining with the carbon dioxide by utilizing ATP energy. It forms glucose. So the H plus ions are highly reactive H plus ions of the photolysis, which occurs in the first phase, combined with the NADP and forms NADPH. The hydrogen of the NADPH combined with carbon dioxide by utilizing this ATP and forms glucose, C6H12O6. The synthesis of this material or the substance involves a series of steps and several intermediary compounds are involved in it. For synthesis of glucose may not take place at one step. It may not take place at one step. Several steps are involved in it. Several phases are several phases are, several intermediary compounds are involved in it. For example is RUBP. This means ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate. So this is about RUBP. The synthesis of glucose involves several steps. Several intermediary compounds are also involved in it. The mainly RUBP. What is RUBP? It is one of the important ingredient. So ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate. Now, so this is the formation of glucose by the mechanism of photosynthesis, light dependent and light independent reactions. Plants are capable of living in different situations. So plants are capable of living under different conditions, from the very hot, dry, wet, from the hot, dry conditions to the wet, humid conditions. Okay, the requirement of light and other factors also varies from plant to plant. So that is about the autotrophic nutrition, what we have discussed from the starting onwards. Photosynthesis, which makes the plants the universal food providers. So here is intermediary compound RUBP. Plants are capable of living in different conditions, like very hot, dry, bright light conditions to the dry, wet, humid, dimly light conditions. You understand this? So this is about all these things. Now autotrophic nutrition is what? Now I am in heterotrophic. In this living world, different types of organisms is there, and they have the different modes of acquiring food habits. In this living world, different types of organisms are there, and they have the different types of acquiring food mode of life. So we have already discussed plants, autotrophs, which make their own food, and the remaining organisms which cannot prepare their food are called heterotrophs. The type of nutrition is heterotrophic nutrition. In the heterotrophic nutrition, mainly we observe that three types of nutrition is there. One is parasitic nutrition. So parasitic nutrition. So in the parasitic nutrition means heterotrophic nutrition. Organisms which cannot prepare their food and depend on other organisms for their food. They cannot prepare. So in these three types, one is parasitic nutrition. What are parasitic nutrition? I will explain about it. So some of the organisms derive their food materials from plants and animals without killing them. For example, lice which are present in our hair, lice, and leeches which sucks the blood from the animals. Leeches. Do you understand? And tapeworms also. So lice, leeches, tapeworms. These are the examples. Lice, leech, tapeworm. This is an example for parasitic nutrition. Organisms which derive their nutrition from plants and animals without killing them. So lice, leech, and the tapeworms. And another one is saprophytic nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition means the organisms which break down the food materials outside of the body and absorbs into the body. So the organisms which break down the food materials outside of the body and absorbs it into the body. This is called saprophytic nutrition. For example, bread mold, yeast, mushroom. These are the examples. And another one also is there. Some of the organisms take the whole food materials into the body and digest it. That is halozoic nutrition. Okay, so parasitic nutrition, saprophytic nutrition, and halozoic nutrition. So these are three types of nutrition. Here, the plant, these organisms get their food without killing the plants and animals. Here, they break down the food materials outside of the body and absorb into the body. Here, take the food, halozoic nutrition, take the whole food into the body and digest it into several pieces. Now, I am going to explain about the organisms have different types of food habits. They have the different types of food habits and their digestive system also various. Organisms have different types of food habits. For example, carnivores, herbivores, omnivores, sanguivores. Different types of organisms is there. These all organisms have different mode of food habits, different mode of food habits, and they have different types of digestive systems. Okay, they have different type of food habits and they have the different types of digestive system. For example, the unicellular organism like amoeba, the food may be taken by the entire surface of the body. So, in unicellular organisms like amoeba, food may be taken by the entire surface of the body. As the complexity of the organism is increases, when the size of the organism increases, the digestive system also varies. Different parts are involved to perform different functions. So, you have to remind only one thing here, very important point. In amoeba, the food is taken by the entire surface of the body. Okay, now I am going to explain the mode of acquiring food in the amoeba. So in amoeba, food takes in by using temporary finger-like extensions called pseudopodia. What are these? The finger-like structures which appears on the amoeba, because amoeba does not have any shape. It does not have any shape. Does not have definite shape. So podia only we are noticing that is amoeba. So in amoeba, food is taken by the finger-like extensions present on the cell surface, called pseudopodia, which fuse the food into food vacuoles. For example, if amoeba find the food here, the food vacuoles moves the food is moved into the food vacuole inside, and the food vacuole, the complex food materials are broken down into simpler ones and then diffuses into the cytoplasm. There the food is absorbed. The remaining undigested food is moved to the cell surface, okay, outer surface of the cell and thrown outside. In this way, amoeba takes in food. Okay, amoeba is a shapeless organism which does not have a defined shape. Food is taken by the finger-like extensions that present on the cell surface, which fuse the food, push the food into the food vacuole. Inside the food vacuole, the food materials are broken down into simpler ones and then diffuses into the cytoplasm. The remaining undigested material is moved to the cell surface and thrown outside. And I am going to explain another important unicellular organism, paramecium. Paramecium, which is also a unicellular organism, but which does not have a definite shape. So see this slipper-like structure, paramecium. So like this it may appear to us, paramecium, which is also a unicellular organism, but it has the definite shape. Amoeba does not have any definite shape, but paramecium has the definite shape. The food is taken at a specific spot. Food is taken at a specific spot. and the food is moved to the spot. For example, if you think it is the spot, the food is moved to the spot by the movement of cilia. The hair-like structures present on the cell surface. These are cilia. Very important. What is cilia? The hair-like structures that present on the paramecium body, cell surface of the paramecium is called cilia. So, paramecium, which is also a unicellular organism, food is taken at a specific spot. The food is moved to the spot by the movement of cilia which present on the cell surface. Okay, and then the food is ingested. Taking of food into the body is ingested, and breaking down of food material in the body is digestion. Okay, this is cilia. The specific spot is called cytostome. Cytostome. So this is about heterotrophic nutrition in different types of organisms.